Welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered. I'm Hannah, and today I'm here with Amina and our special guest, Aysheh.
Hello, my name is Aysheh, and I'm a student at DePaul. I am part of SJP DePaul and SJP Chicago, and we're one of the organizations that have been organizing the protests you guys have been seeing.
So recently, there's been a lot of media attention about the Palestinian and Israeli conflict. Aysheh, can you start by explaining what's been happening in Shajarrah?
So the biggest issue is that a lot of settlers have been trying to displace the Palestinians that live there by taking them to court and trying to get them evicted and settling in their houses. So the way they're trying to get them evicted is they're basically using land deeds from the Ottoman Empire to prove that Shajarrah used to be owned by the Jewish people that lived in during Ottoman Empire times. So so their claim is basically that because a Jewish person once lived there, that any Jewish person of any background can claim that land. So they're not trying to return that land to the original owners, but they can say any settler from like Long Island can come to Sheikh Jarrah and displace the Palestinians that have been living there that have basically lived there for their entire lives, right? So, of course, the residents of Sheikh Jarrah, they've been upset, they've been protesting, right? And a lot of their protests have been gaining, like, international, like, news coverage, right? A lot of media has been covering on the residents of Sheikh Jarrah. And this upset Israel, right? They're like, wait, we can't get away with war crimes now? Yeah. And so what happened as retaliation, during our holiest month, Ramadan, they've been attacking basically worshippers at Masjid al-Aqsa, the third holiest site in Islam, right? So what they've been doing is during Ramadan, when people go to pray there and worship God and everything, they've been vandalizing the masjid itself, our third holiest site, right? And they've been violently attacking Palestinians. And this is to shut them up, basically. Stop protesting. Be okay with these settlers taking your houses, right? And so it didn't work, right? A lot of people like Muhammad al-Kurd and Muna al-Kurd, they've been very vocal on Twitter and other social media platforms, and they've been advocating, right? And after that, a lot of escalation has been happening. A lot of violence within Jerusalem. A lot of these peaceful protesters have been starting to get attacked. And the situation in Jerusalem is getting insanely violent.
You know what's crazy about that is I've seen like that horrible video that went around of Muhammad al-Kurd himself getting evicted, getting thrown out of his own town.
I know, and it's crazy because it's happening like internationally, and people are like, oh well, two sides. What is Yaakov from Long Island doing in Sheikh Jarrah, right?
The horrible man.
Oh
All
my
those
God.
videos of him. It's so saddening to see this elderly Palestinian couple that's been their home, and they're telling this man Yaqub, like, this is our home, you took it from us, and he's saying, well, I have the right to be here, but it wasn't your home in Long Island, New York?
And that's the thing. Ironically, he's done so much for the movement. If I don't steal it, someone else
will.
And so that use of steal, like, these people know that the land deeds they're using from the Ottoman Empire, which, by the way, there is questions about their legitimacy.
Of course there is. It's from the Ottoman Empire. How do y'all know?
And exactly, and under like Israeli court, which, by the way, Israeli court, so they have no under East Jerusalem, it's occupied territory under under international law. Israeli courts can't work in East Jerusalem or Jerusalem at all, right? So these Israeli courts, they have no legitimacy. Mm-hmm. And the court's decisions still justify these settlers coming in, backed by Israel, backed by the IDF, right?
Yeah.
So government violence, and it's like there's this thing that it's like, oh no, it's a private real estate dispute between two private parties. No, one of those private parties is state-backed with state weaponry. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, and it's
How can it be a private manor when they're being forcefully evicted by people with guns and uniforms?
Exactly, and these settlers are armed. It's not like it's not like they're peacefully like, guys, you gotta leave.
Please, can we have your house?
Come on, yeah. It's horrifying to see.
It really is.
You're seeing ethnic cleanse, like you're seeing it in front of your eyes, not in a textbook,
In real time, yeah, we're seeing the footage ourselves.
Exactly.
For the first time in a long time, too. We're seeing a media coverage that has never gripped the world like the way it has before.
Exactly.
It's literally in front of our eyes.
I remember reading this somewhere, but it was like we're witnessing 1948 all over again. But this time there are cameras, right, to document it.
Now there's photographic evidence, and somehow
it's there's videos of it happening, and it's just. It's being perpetuated by the media too. So at least there's the media coverage.
Yeah, at least there's some there's no justice in that, but at least there's documentation to get that justice. So segueing a little bit, how did Gaza get involved with this?
Okay, so Gaza, once Al-Quds was attacked, once Masjid al-Aqsa was attacked, Gaza retaliated with missiles, right? Which, by the way, were useless considering Israel's Iron Dome, right? It was more so a show of support. After that, Gaza was started, and then after that, Israel retaliated again with massive just airstrikes. They were attacking. They were airstriking hospitals, media coverage, which, by the way, that was a threat. That was an active threat. Schools. So literally they killed. I think they killed the only neurosurgeon in Gaza. They attacked like COVID centers. It's like they were actively like trying to shut Gaza up,
targeting.
They were to shut Gazans up, right? And then like there's also this thing in Gaza is what they do is, I mean, you guys know it's an open air, it's the biggest open air prison, right?
Oh yeah.
The way to keep Gaza like silenced is, this is what they do. They call it I think it's like mowing the lawn or mowing the grass or something. It's where they'll once in a while, without Gaza doing anything, they'll carpet bomb it. And that's to keep it like I guess silenced, like to keep it silenced. What was that one quote they said that like, we're not gonna stop until you guys quiet down?
Yeah, I remember it was something along those lines.
It was something along those lines.
Until
so if you guys
is quiet.
Until you guys are quiet. So what does that mean? What does that mean?
I think that quote is really interesting, specifically regarding the fact that they bombed the Al Jazeera news channel, which is the biggest one. If anyone's parents at home watch Al Jazeera, you know that Al Jazeera is relentless. They've got that 24-hour coverage, absolutely anything. The second something happens, it'll happen in America. They're covering mass shootings over in Al Jazeera, and that relates to nothing. It's an Arab news channel. And when they bombed Al Jazeera, that building, they're sending a message, especially knowing that the media is what's controlling all the coverage of what's happening in Palestine right now, and by bombing the biggest news channel that's present there, it's really making a solid attempt of making sure that no one finds out what's going on.
It's a threat. It's definitely a threat. And just watching that like video of that entire building go down, and they're like, oh, there's militants within that building. There's militants. It's Al Jazeera.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to occupation and apartheid, it's countries like the states, the occupying nations, not really countries, they really hide behind the idea of militants and, like opposing governments and stuff like that. But I think that their bombing is indiscriminate, it's not every hospital, COVID testing center, school, how are elementary schools hiding militants,
Insane, yeah.
Like, you're hiding behind this fake facade.
And they can get away with it.
That's
the thing, is they don't care how like absurd their lies are. It's because they know they have it to go. They won't, the funding won't get cut.
Right.
That's the thing.
America isn't going to go and investigate whether they're not going to go and investigate whether the building they just bombed was actually full of elementary aged kids or if it was full of militants. They're not going to sit there and cover that up, or they're not going to sit there and investigate that. So Israel is able to cover up what they commit, knowing that they can hide behind that.
Yeah, I think something that I've noticed is, might be a conspiracy theory, that like with them targeting schools, they know that it's youth content creators in Palestine. So people on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram that are like documenting like what they're going through while they're in Palestine. So I think that in a way, like they know that some of the youth are like actually like speaking out and that people are listening to them. And I don't know. I just feel like with a big they have is it the third biggest military in the world?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's like definitely some like intelligence or like thought to like them, like who they're targeting, not just because they want to like eradicate Palestinians, because we already know that to be true. But then when they target like youth in hospitals and things like that, you know that they have like an idea of like just wanting to like shut everybody down and make sure that like nothing gets out that, you know, tarnishes their image.
And that goes back to wanting to silence the people.
Wanting to silence, yeah, and definitely, and of course, like, the youth this target. I mean, you're talking about an insanely small piece of land with the most dense. It's more populated than London, right? Insanely small piece of land, where around almost half of the people there are youth, right? So the thing is, like, whether they're aiming for the youth or not, they're gonna strike youth. They're gonna strike children.
I think it's like 50% of Palestinians like living there in that area are under the age of 14. So even if you're not targeting the youth, you're going to be killing these children.
Either way,
no matter what.
Yeah. It's when you say Gazan civilians, you're not talking about like the elderly, right? You're lucky if you reach that, you know, that stage of life, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, when you have like 4 hours of electricity, when your hospitals are constantly bombarded, when Gaza or when Israel is
not drinkable.
The water is not drinkable. It's unlivable. It was considered unlivable by the UN by 2020. We're in 2021 right now, right?
I mean, how worse can it get than unlivable? And yet it is.
Yeah, they're living in there, and it's like, it's definitely it's definitely a war crime. I can tell you that.
It for sure is. So taking all of this into consideration, how does 48 land in the West Bank tie into it?
Okay, well, as the tensions started increasing and the bombardment started increasing within Jerusalem and Gaza, Palestinians in 48, which 48 is basically the land that was taken during the Nakba. It's like Israel proper. That's what it's the term. 48 land, Israel proper. It's basically Israel without all the settlements, right? The settlements were taken after 48.
And can you really quickly explain what the Neckball was?
So the Nakba happened in 1948. That was the establishment of the Israel as a country. They took large, like, it was a huge, like, the biggest land grab. And that's the foundation of Israel. It was upon the ethnic cleansing and the displacement of around 700,000 Palestinians, right? And those Palestinians were displaced either internally in Gaza or to the West Bank, or they fled historic Palestine entirely.
So that was the beginning of the mass displacement of Palestinians.
Yes, it was Nakba. That was the beginning of the mass displacement, the beginning of Israel. So when I say 48 land, it was all the land. It's Israel proper, or all the land that was grabbed during 1948.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
So yeah, and so the thing, to circle back to your question, what are the tensions in 1948 or 48 land and the West Bank is they started protesting, peaceful protesting, right? At first, and then all their peaceful protesting has been met with insane bouts of violence, right? I know in 48, the Palestinians that live there, they're second-class citizens, right? So the fact that they're protesting, that's wild, right? They're protesting while, like, random Israelis are on the street. They're protesting in front of Israelis, right? They have immediate contact with other Israelis, right? So I mean, like, while they're protesting, obviously, they're in a dangerous situation, right? They're facing their colonizers. They're facing their settlers, right? So yeah, and then there's this operation to shut down the protests in 1948 land, and it is called Law and Order, where the IDF or IOF, Israeli Offensive Forces, they plan on arresting 500 Palestinians indiscriminately, right? Palestinian youth, 500 Palestinian youth.
Anyone they find.
Just anyone that has connections to the protest, just to shut them up. And then, like, when you think about it, so 500 Palestinians being arrested. That's 500 families being affected. That's 500 neighborhoods mourning. That's 500, And it's like, it's 500 neighborhoods just, like, they know what they're doing. Like, you know what I mean? This is to silence. This is to keep us quiet, to stop, literally just to stop gaining, like, attention internationally. Within the West Bank, there have also been protests in support, right? And, like, this is the first time you see within Jerusalem, with the West Bank, 48 land, Gaza, this is the first time since 48 that we were this connected, that we were all fighting for, like, one cause. And it's like, and that's done on purpose, right? We're cut up into these small little places on purpose, right? It's and given different types of, like, rights, right? And it's to see, like, okay, well, these Palestinians are different. These Palestinians are different. These Palestinians are different. And to fight against that, say, no, we are all Palestinian, and we're all going to fight for the same cause. And if our brothers in Jerusalem face that type of Israeli violence, you bet we're going to protest on their behalf, right? To see that solidarity, it's something I think my grandparents only experienced, right? It's not something, it's something I'm new to, right? Seeing that for the first time. And it's crazy. It's not even just Palestinians within Palestine, within historical Palestine. It's Palestinians, displaced Palestinians in Jordan, right? When I saw those, by the way, just to give context, most of Jordan is
Palestinian refugees, yeah.
Palestinian refugees. So when you saw those Palestinians storming those Zionist checkpoints, that was an act of decolonization, right? That was
in real time.
In real time.
Yeah.
In real time. We were going back home, right? We and it's just to see that. And, it wasn't just Palestinians in Jordan, You had Lebanese, Palestinian Lebanese. You had Palestinian Syrians. It was just all of diaspora Palestinians and Palestinians back home just uniting, right? And it's what we're going through is horrible, but that's something beautiful to see, right? We still have that revolutionary spark, right?
It is beautiful, to see the most unified front for Palestinians that's been seen in years. 100%. And the reason why it's been so difficult to get that unified front is Israel is like a part of that, because it's much harder to knock down kind of a blockade of people, a wall of people that are unified for one cause. It's a lot easier to pick them off one by one when it's divided.
When it's divided, definitely. And that's why you have like 600 checkpoints in like a piece of land that's like the size of New Jersey, right? That's what those around 600 checkpoints are for, right? That's why you have the siege on Gaza. But basically, so that's basically what's been happening within Palestine. Okay. That's kind of the situation.
And so then, considering everything that we've heard now, how can people that are not involved directly, people like us that are living here, how can people be allies to the Palestinian people? I said people so many times. How can we be allies to the Palestinian people? I
got you. BDS.
Okay.
So BDS, let's go over the letters. B, boycott. D, divestment, or divest, and then S, sanction. So boycott is probably something that's the easiest. It's the easiest out of the three letters. You just gotta boycott. I think so. As of now, it's we try to do it strategic. Like we already know there's a bunch of companies that like support Israel in some way or another. But we have it down to these companies, which I will be saying right now. It is so AXA, I think it's like this so what AXA is, I think it's like this insurance thing where you buy your insurance from. No one my age knows what AXA is.
I mean, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, we're good. So unless you guys are like wanting some insurance, just avoid AXA, okay?
We'll stay away.
Yeah, they invest in Israeli banks. SodaStream, which it's carbonated, it's sparkling water.
I've heard about this one, but it's okay. Yeah. We have options. We got Perrier. We got,
I mean, like, who drinks SodaStream? No one my age is going to be like, yo, you know what I'm craving right now?
Right.
I'm thirsty for like SodaStream. So basically SodaStream, the reason we're boycotting it is because they have factories on settlements and they employ Palestinians without giving them any kind of like workers' rights.
They're profiting off of illegal settlements.
Basically. And then you have Ahava, which it's basically like face masks and stuff with like Dead Sea minerals.
You know what? I'm not even going to sit here and lie. I do know what this product is. I'm going to use up the last of my hand creams and I'm done. I just got a new one in my Ipsy bag. I'm a little sad. It smells good, but it's fine.
Hey, man.
The Palestinian revolution is a lot more important than moisturized hands. I'll find another brand, you know?
Vaseline works.
Right. Nivea's just as good.
But yeah, so we have a Hava. And then Ben & Jerry's. I've never had Ben & Jerry's, but I already know their ice cream tastes like... You've had Ben & Jerry's, is it?
It's
all right.
so good.
I'm sorry, that strawberry cheesecake flavor and like that's my favorite one. It's in my freezer right now. It's done.
In my freezer.
I promise.
What's the
Right
last
now,
one?
me and Amina
Don't
vow
even-
the
don't
second
even
we
admit.
finish spooning that one up, put it in the recycling, and it's done. That chapter's
was-
closed.
yeah.
Our relationship
You
is
gotta
over.
disavow from Ben & Jerry's.
I'm done.
These people have no taste in ice cream. Ben & Jerry's.
I'm
I've
so
never tried
sorry,
it
you guys.
because I'm a Palestinian like that. But like Ben & Jerry's sucks. We're gonna forget about it. I'm
You
gonna
know what's
forget
crazy
that.
is Ben & Jerry's is really so hypocritical because they're known
yeah.
for being such social advocates. You know, you'll hear them talking about every other like call for
Every other
social
cause,
justice,
yeah.
but here they're
And I'm like,
profiting from illegal Israeli settlements as well.
Girl. They were like, oh yeah. They came out in support of BLM, and then they're not gonna support Palestine. Like, girl, like first of all, like
Can't pick and choose.
it's two sides of the same
Right.
coin. It's like
The social
brutality,
justice not
police
count.
brutality.
Yeah.
Do you guys just pick countries in which you want to support?
I mean, clearly they're a little choosy, so it's not even a
Exactly,
question. It's a matter of
yeah.
fact at this point.
It's
Are there any other brands?
Yes. And then we have Puma. I know you guys don't wear.
Oh, nobody wear that. That was
Nobody, like,
sixth
I don't
grade.
even-
Like, I
don't
remember those shoes. We're done.
If you wear Puma, then like that's like you already have no drip. You know what I
Right?
mean?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm not getting laughed off the stage, you know, kicked out of the group chat for that one. Like,
That's on you if you wear Puma.
that's on you, right? You're already like, you know,
like I'm doing this as a sister, like.
double homicide.
Yeah,
like,
But yeah, so then we have Puma, and then we have Caterpillar. I mean, nobody's buying like bulldozers, but like Caterpillar. So
I mean,
Caterpillar.
if anyone needs a
The
bulldozer,
construction company?
just
Don't-
stay away from it. Like,
Yeah. So so basically Israel buys the bulldozers they use to bulldoze
Oh,
Palestinian
no.
land and olive trees with.
Ugh.
So like if anyone's dad needs a bulldozer, just avoid Caterpillar, right?
right. I'll keep that in mind.
yeah.
Next time I want to build a house or something.
Yeah. And then we have HP, Intel. Okay, so I understand Intel is a bit difficult because they create like the chips within laptops, but I've never seen a person use HP.
I couldn't even
People-
tell you what a chip for the laptop. Like, I don't even know if you
Oh.
can buy that. Like,
Oh, okay, so Intel. Okay, so I know like with the HP or like so HP is like a computer brand.
Mm-hmm.
Intel, they make computer chips for like a bunch of computers, and I'm talking like a lot of them.
Most,
Yeah,
if not
yeah,
all
yeah.
of them, are Intel.
Intel, yeah, and which sucks because they also build the drones that they use to airstrike.
Oh my god.
Palestine.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So I know so Intel is a bit difficult to boycott, but you can definitely boycott HP. Just get a Mac.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Mac or
Mac
Go- like-
or Google.
Pixelbook. I think Pixelbook
We've got our
actually has Intel in
options,
it.
yeah.
But yeah,
HP's
just
not
fine.
even that good, man.
It's not.
It's not.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sabra hummus. Okay, I don't think anyone that listens to this podcast eats Sabra hummus.
I really
Absolutely
hope
not.
not. It's not even that
It's
good.
like-
It's like the most gentrified version of hummus I've ever had in my life.
I've had Sabra hummus once.
Yeah.
My dad brought it. He didn't know. It was,
Yeah,
you
the
know?
second I found out, it never entered our home again.
Yeah, and
you
it's
know?
like, I was ashamed of my dad as a Palestinian man. Like, first of all, like as a
What's his
Palestinian man,
mistake? You know, it was his bad. Like,
why would you actively hurt your family members with Sabra hummus?
right, make the hummus at home. Like,
make it at
come on,
home.
we got chickpeas.
But yeah, so okay, and then the last one is Pillsbury. So Pillsbury,
I can live without that little chef, the
Yeah,
little fat
little-
man with the chef
Don't-
hat.
he's not
Yeah.
even that cute. Like,
Right.
He's not
I
that.
find him cute.
We'll
Yeah,
survive.
I can
You know,
go
there's
with that.
other brands that
That's-
make
There's
like.
plenty.
That
Yeah.
Doughboy is the face of a Zionist. So.
Oh,
in my
so true.
opinion-
Doughboy himself is a Zionist.
Yeah.
So why are y'all putting money in his
Let's not
pockets?
hype him up.
Let's keep him out of here.
Nope.
And then so those are the companies. So let me go over them. Exa, Ahava, Ben & Jerry's, Puma, Caterpillar, HP, Intel, and then Sabra hummus and Pillsbury.
Pillsbury.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Can't forget him.
can't write it down. And then also so that's boycotting. That's just boycotting products. Then you have academic boycotts, which an academic boycott is like when you work on a campaign to boycott like Israeli institutions. Like for example, like there's a lot of universities and institutions that have no connections to like Israeli institutions on like in Israel, right? Like Israeli universities. So that happens with your university. It's usually the university. You have like small campaigns to ask the university to boycott any kind of Israeli professor or like Israeli university. And then cultural boycotts. So these are important. It's boycotting celebrities and academic or artists, boycotting celebrities and artists that support Israel in multiple ways. For example, it's like having concerts in Tel Aviv.
So that's going and seeing the Wonder Woman movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
Gal Gadot is literally a war criminal.
Yeah, she's a war criminal and she can't even act.
Right, you know what? And she is not hot enough for the way that people are obsessed with her.
No.
Come on.
Girl.
You know what? Y'all could have Bella Hadid and you're going for Gal Gadot.
Exactly. And like, at least I mean, Bella Hadid, I root for my Palestinian women.
Period.
But
like, girl.
Yeah, and it's like, it's just Gal Gadot, like, I don't know why everyone's obsessed with her.
Right.
And then Lady Gaga, like, we can.
Lady Gaga's Israeli?
Okay, and she's not Israeli. She's had concerts in Tel Aviv.
Come on, girl.
Like,
she's been done for, okay? The 2000s, they left that genre of music anyway,
exactly.
so we're good.
So we're good. And
keep her out of your 2010 remixes.
All my playlists. She's out.
She's out.
I blocked her off of Spotify. And then divestments. This is the fun part, right? So divestment is, it's basically, so there's academic divestment. It's a bit difficult. It's these huge campaigns that usually SJPs take in charge. So what they do is they try to get the university to divest from any Israeli company.
Okay.
It's insanely hard. A lot of universities, they'll divest, and then once the SJP students graduate, they'll reinvest.
Oh.
And that happens a lot, right?
You need it to stick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely, that's why you got to keep your SJPs strong, and like you got to keep on recruiting, and gotta keep that. It's just you gotta make them like respect you,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, basically it's huge campaigns. Like for example, if you're gonna have like a campaign, like everyone on campus is gonna know that this is how everyone's gonna know SJP. Everyone's gonna know that SJP is behind it. So these are really huge. Like I'm gonna be honest, especially if it's a big university.
Okay.
And then, so we have academic divestment, and then we have divestments with like countries, which actually I can't remember. I think it might have been 2 days ago or a day ago, or this is very new. Ireland divested.
I love to see it from Ireland. Bro. Yeah, I do remember that. They were the very first country.
But
they've
been against Israel's BS for a long time.
Yeah.
Not the first country, first European country.
Oh, first European country. Yes, excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah, so because like what the Irish went through something similar to the Palestinians with the British when they were colonized by the British. So they empathize with Palestine a lot. They already don't want the Israeli ambassador to be like in their court, and they're basically like, we don't want you here if you're going to continue to commit war crimes. And so now they've officially divested, and the proof is in the pudding. Like they've never been in support of it, and because like it's really near and dear to their hearts, like the struggle. And like I don't know, I've been seeing a lot of like old videos surface of them being really vocal about like their support for Palestine.
That reminds me of Algeria. Like that's my home country, and Algeria is actually the only Arab country to have been occupied for even longer than Palestine. Palestine is in either their 73rd or the 77th year. I can't remember. 73rd. And 73rd. Okay. Yeah. And Algeria was actually occupied by the French for 132 years. Oh my God. So what's going on in Palestine like really hits close to home, like as an Algerian. And so Algeria has been vehemently against Israel, like absolutely not, and it's that type of solidarity that we love to see and we need to see, especially from the other Arab countries who have like the power, We're talking about Saudi Arabia, the Khalij, like in case.
Viva Algeria, brothers from another mother. Okay, so yeah. So that's with that divestment. And then we have also another thing, which this is how you guys can also help, is so what's happening is there's this thing coming in like in Congress. It's called the Palestinian Children and Families Act today.
Heard of that?
So yeah. So basically, you guys, what you guys need to do is basically call your reps, find out who your representatives are. You call your reps, and then what you can do is be like, hey guys, we need a support, or I need to see you on that bill. It's called HR 2590. I'm gonna repeat that, HR 2590. You gotta call your reps. I believe I want to plug SJP. I think SJP. Yeah, SJP Chicago. Within our bio for Instagram, we have a link tree. And I believe there's more on that and how to call your reps. And I think there might be also like an email where you can email your
I
reps.
did it really easily actually through Resistabot. If you text the number 50409, the letters PTFDZN. Again, that's 50409 as the number, and the letters PTFDZN, and you're able to send like an already pre-written letter to our Senator Jan Schakowsky, I think that's what her name is. Yeah. And Congresswoman, excuse me. Jan Schakowsky, and it'll email her, and you just have to authorize your email and you're done. It's like one and done. It's super easy, and it's like a small way to show our support for the bill.
Yeah, and it's like it's crazy. So this is what the support is, or this is what the bill is. Basically, it says, okay, U.S. funding cannot go to it won't go to Israeli imprisonment and torture of Palestinian children. It won't go to theft and destruction of Palestinian homes and property, or any further annexation of Palestinian land. And while, like, obviously it's not going to, like, okay, we're going to liberate Palestine, but, like, just stopping that from happening, at least from our end, cutting that money off, it'll do a lot. Like,
it's hugely impactful for the Palestinians.
I'm like, and listen, I'm very critical of politicians, but this wouldn't have worked like just 6 years ago.
Yeah.
This would not have been written as a law or as a bill just 6 years ago, right?
And it's good to see that progress.
It's good to see. Yeah, it's good to see. And like, once again, I'm critical of politicians, but it's good to see people like what's it called, Cori Bush talk about it. So it's just it's something, you know. It's something I'm, like, amazed by, or, you know, impressed, I guess.
That's good, yeah.
Something crazy coming from, like, the U.S. government, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we're the biggest contributors. Yeah. So, now that we've learned all the ways that we can help Palestine, inshallah, all of us can work to support Palestinians in the efforts to get rid of Israeli occupation and apartheid. Remember, you can call these numbers, follow the BDS rules to boycott these brands, and inshallah, we will live to see a day that Palestinians are free from occupation. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.